What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got another really interesting NBA topic I'm going to be talking about, this time actually revolving around Chris Paul and the Los Angeles Lakers and the New York Knicks. For those of you who didn't know, there has been a lot of rumors, and I mean a lot, of potentially Chris Paul being traded to one of these two teams. Obviously, the New York Knicks are pretty much the number one. They're the favorites, really. I mean, there is a lot of rumors that they are ready to pounce and try and get Chris Paul, due to the fact that, you know, they need a point guard right now. They've got RJ Barrett, who's pretty much going to be their small forward, it looks like, for the foreseeable future. Then they've got, you know, players in the draft they'll potentially be looking at, like Anthony Edwards, who I think could be a very good addition to the New York Knicks. And there's, you know, LaMelo Ball that is currently being rumored to go to the New York Knicks as well, potentially in the draft. It's honestly just where the Knicks fall in the draft order, I think, is where they're going to try and take. But then you also got, you know, the Los Angeles Lakers, and yes, the New York Knicks need that point guard, you know, desperately, whether it's Chris Paul or the young recruit, but I think they desperately need Chris Paul just to try and build that winning culture. But the Los Angeles Lakers are not in a similar situation at all, and they're in a situation where they're currently contending and could look to add a third star to the team, which in my opinion should not be Chris Paul. I honestly think Chris Paul to the Lakers would not be that good of a deal at all. For those of you who haven't seen my recent videos, I've actually made recent videos as well on the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers being interested in Chris Paul. Unfortunately, I don't really think the Lakers should go after Chris Paul at all. I think Buddy Hield is going to be their man that they, you know, should look to potentially add to the team if they were to try and look for a third star. I mean, he would add desperate shooting. It looks like LeBron James is going to be playing that position, you know, the point guard position now for the future with the Lakers. I think it works better than him playing the small forward position. And I think that, yeah, if you could partner a shooting guard like Buddy Hield, you know, the talent is obviously there. And I think that would be a very interesting, I think, position the Lakers would be in to kind of partner Buddy Hield with LeBron. But when it comes to Chris Paul, I don't really think they should partner Chris Paul with LeBron at all. I mean, LeBron is an incredible playmaker now. He's improved his playmaking literally every single season pretty much since he's been in the league. One of the best playmakers in the league. And the thing that you got to put around LeBron now, in my opinion, is shooting and perimeter defense. They've obviously got a lot of shooting and perimeter defense already with KCP and Danny Green. But they could look to potentially try and improve that by adding more shooting with Buddy Hield. And then obviously they've got interior defense with JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and Anthony Davis. So they're pretty much all covered there. But yeah, I don't really think they need playmaking at all. I mean, they've got LeBron James. They've got Rajon Rondo. Two of the best playmakers in the league are both on the same team. And then they've got, you know, players that can potentially bring the ball up. Not necessarily great playmakers, but still players that can bring the ball up, such as, you know, Anthony Davis, who's a power forward that literally can play like that point guard type of position, but you don't oftenly see him do it. I believe, you know, did a bit of it when he played for the New Orleans Pelicans. Hasn't really done much of it with the Lakers, but he's just another player that you sometimes see the ball in his hands as well. Other players, you know, include Alex Caruso, could potentially be as well. So again, it's all like they don't really need a playmaker at all. And that's why I think for the battle of Chris Paul, I honestly think the New York Knicks will potentially win this battle, because I don't think the Lakers really need Chris Paul. And not just that, I think the New York Knicks have a lot more to trade. I mean, let's just look at the Knicks. They have Kevin Knox, who is a player that I think, you know, the Oklahoma City Thunder should definitely be looking at, because they desperately need a wing type of player, mainly a small forward. And I think that Kevin Knox hasn't had a good enough chance on the New York Knicks. Look, I don't really like Kevin Knox at all. You know, as a player, I don't really like how he really goes about it. He doesn't exactly have the greatest tank, and yeah, I just don't think he is really going to be much in the league. But of course, I could definitely be proven wrong, because OKC could trade for him and really, you know, take his career in a different direction and, you know, make him something different than what he's been able to produce at the New York Knicks. Now, of course, as well, OKC are they're trying to get into that rebuild type of phase. I don't think they really want Gallinari and Chris Paul on the roster, so they'll probably look to trade Chris Paul. They'll probably look to do a sign and trade with Danilo Gallinari, and they could look to potentially trade Steven Adams, although I think they might keep him because he's just a great... He's not even really a veteran. Like, he's still like 26 to 28, I'm pretty sure. Like, he's actually still relatively young, but he plays that leadership role so, you know, so great that I think keeping him to help Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and, you know, potentially other players as well, like Kevin Knox, that they could potentially get in a trade with Chris Paul, I think is the way to go. Now, what would the Knicks trade for Chris Paul if this was to happen? I'll talk about later as well what I think the Lakers should potentially trade for Chris Paul if they really did want him. Now, of course, when it comes to the New York Knicks, they will have cap. What I think they should potentially trade is, in my opinion, I think it should be like a player like Kevin Knox. I've heard they've been looking at Reggie Bullock and potentially, I think it was Dennis Smith Jr. or was it Frank Ntilikina as well? I think, yeah, it was Frank Ntilikina and Reggie Bullock they were looking to trade for. I think they should honestly try and trade Kevin Knox, that Dallas pick, you know, I think it was top 10 protected Dallas pick, and maybe a player like Bobby Portis or Reggie Bullock or maybe Dennis Smith Jr. I think they should honestly keep on to Frank Ntilikina for now. I don't necessarily think they need to trade him, and I also don't necessarily think OKC need him. I think OKC are pretty good at the point guard position. I mean, I'm not necessarily too sure who's going to be their starting point guard, because I honestly think Dennis Schroeder will probably love to come off the bench again and win that six-man award, and obviously he's probably going to win it this season, to be honest, so I don't necessarily know who their starting point guard is, so maybe they would actually want to trade for Frank Ntilikina and get him there. And obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will probably start at point guard, actually, even though I think he plays way better as a shooting guard, and I think everyone knows he is probably better as a shooting guard. Although, I think, yeah, when, you know, Dennis Schroeder comes back on the court, he'll probably switch to that shooting guard position, but he'll probably start at point guard. That's why I think they will desperately need a small forward. For most of the season, if you guys haven't seen, they do like to play a really nice three of Chris Paul at point guard, Dennis Schroeder at shooting guard, and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at small forward, and then Gallinari's power forward, and then Steven Adams is center. Well, if they lose Chris Paul, then, you know, it'll probably be, I'd say, Schroeder goes to that point guard position when he's on the court. Gilgeous-Alexander will play that shooting guard position. Who's going to play that small forward position now in the big minutes? And I think that's when a young player like Kevin Knox could potentially come in to it as well. And I think that would be a very interesting thing to potentially happen. And yeah, that's why I think Kevin Knox could actually be a very nice, you know, small forward type of player that could come in. And obviously, of course, they're going to be looking for a power forward as well, because I would imagine Gallinari is going to be putting a sign and trade, or is he going to sign with another team? So who knows? Kevin Knox could be that other player as well that they do potentially look, you know, to try and trade for at that small forward / power forward position. Now, when it comes to the Lakers, what would the Lakers need to trade for Chris Paul? In my opinion, it would probably be maybe, look, it's really hard because the Lakers don't exactly have, you know, the most amount of cap. I mean, it would have to be Danny Green, you would think, because Danny Green's on the third most amount of money, $15 million a season or so. So I would presume it'd be like Danny Green and maybe another player and maybe their pick that they have this year for Chris Paul, I would think. And then Danny Green, OKC could look to trade him or keep him on for half a season and trade him on deadline or something like that. Again, I'm not exactly too sure. I honestly don't think the Lakers should trade Danny Green. That's, of course, coming back to the situation where I was talking about. I don't think the Lakers should be trading for Chris Paul at all. I think Buddy Hield is the perfect player for the Lakers to try and get, because if they want, they don't really have to give up too much. They could give up Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green for potentially, you know, it's like, I don't really know. Like, again, I don't really think they should give up Danny Green, but of course, with the contract that Danny Green's on, they may have to give him up for Buddy Hield, and I think that would be a very interesting thing. And of course, Buddy Hield would probably drop like 16 points or so per game with LeBron James and the Lakers, and he'll be on like 20 to 22 million a season. So his contract isn't exactly that big at all, and I think could definitely be that third star. Well, not star, but the third player that the Los Angeles Lakers definitely need on their team. But yeah, I think Chris Paul is a must for the New York Knicks. I don't care if they draft a point guard, whether it's LaMelo Ball or Cole Anthony or whatever. They need Chris Paul. Just play a double backcourt of, you know, play a double backcourt of 2 point guards or whatever, where it's Chris Paul or LaMelo Ball. Of course, playing that double backcourt, maybe Cole Anthony, maybe a little bit trickier because he is relatively small. But I mean, the Cavs are doing it right now. Pretty much the Portland Trailblazers are doing it. And yeah, again, Cavs have had a couple of problems, but they've been looking like they've been getting a little tiny bit better here and there. And I think, you know, with a veteran role, you know, a veteran player such as Chris Paul, who's got great defense, I think that would, you know, potentially work all fine. But But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for the latest NBA content and NBA news. Don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on all of this? Do you guys think it would be a good idea for the New York Knicks or Los Angeles Lakers to trade for Chris Paul? Again, I definitely would really like to know your thoughts and opinions. And who do you guys think is going to come out on top? Will it be the Lakers or will it be the Knicks? Who will have Chris Paul on their roster? Or will it be OKC? Will they continue to keep Chris Paul? Again, I extremely doubt it, but of course I would very much like to hear your thoughts and opinions on it all down below. On who do you guys think Chris Paul is going to be playing for next season? Again, as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my gaming channel. And subscribe to my IRL/vlog channel if you haven't already. Links for them, of course, are all in the description down below. But as I was saying, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.